Call the meeting to order. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to have our invocation now. Jack.
If you'd all bow your heads, please. Almighty God, we come before you today to give you honor and praise for all of your creation. You alone are worthy of this praise. I humbly ask for forgiveness of my sins and that I have a heart for repentance. We thank you for this opportunity to come together this day. We ask you for your hand of blessing on this meeting. Please guide these men and women. Give them wisdom, discernment, and respect for one another. Remind us we are to serve with humility. I ask that you remove our egos, our pride, and let us yield to the instructions you place on our hearts. Heavenly Father, I wish to lift up Darlene here tonight. We come to you in thankfulness for the many years of service given by her. We are thankful for her loyalty, her dedication to complete the daily task laid before her. She has made sacrifices of her personal time. She's been a mentor and a friend to her fellow employees. We pray for continued blessings on her during this next phase of her life. May your presence be upon her as she chooses new paths to explore. Keep her safe for the new journey ahead. May she serve you, Lord, and make a difference in this world. Tonight we wish to leave her with this blessing from the book of Matthew. Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. And we end this prayer thankful for what has been and grateful for what is yet to be. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Well said, Jack. As you came into the building there, you probably saw on the door there's a flyer there for a bike meeting at the Carver Center. That's tomorrow night from 5:30 to 7:30. Is that correct, Casey? Yeah. And so that anybody wishing that does biking or knows someone that's interested in biking and anything dealing with biking, please come and share your thoughts, your ideas about how to maybe do some trails, how to mark roads, anything dealing with biking, 5:30 to 7:30 tomorrow at Carver. All right, next is going to be the citizen comment, and first up is Becky James.
I got business.
Okay.
I'm Becky James. I live at 75 Tucker Road in Ridgecrest. I serve on the Greenway Commission, and I was, for the second year, race director of the Greenway Challenge 5K, 10K race, and I just wanted to report on how successful the event was. We had 210 runners register and 179 finished the event. Some didn't show up. And we netted $4,392. So that's up from last year. I'm hoping that next year we can do even better than that. Just wanted to note that a big part of that was that Pisgah Brewing, instead of charging us for some of the things they provided at the venue, they donated everything this year. So as a thank you, we'd like to give everybody a T-shirt and a glass for iced tea. You'll have to swap sizes if I need to do all these slides.
Thank you, Becky. Thank you very much.
Good job, Becky.
Oh, and I also wanted to include that Jack Williams, our local artist, he does a lot of the logos for the Greenway. He's a really good artist. He always donates his time for that.
Good, yeah.
Did you get the medium?
I have a,
Thank you.
Very good,
Yeah, I have a
thank you
medium.
very much. Okay, next, Rod Allen.
Mayor Sobel, Board of Aldermen, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Rod Allen. I reside at 136 Settings Boulevard in Black Mountain. I'm the current president of the Homeowners Association of the Settings of Black Mountain. I note that tonight the town will be reimbursed for legal fees related to the litigation against the bond companies over the Settings infrastructure bonds. This is a well-earned milestone and a long journey from the time the developer abandoned the project until the bond funds were recovered. Property owners have been working on a parallel track for over 3 years to plan the completion of the remaining infrastructure covered in part by the bond revenue. The additional funding to bridge the difference between the bond revenue and the total expected cost is intended to be covered by a modest special assessment to the members as approved last month by the Board of Directors. The engineering for this work has been ongoing with the goal of delivering a design for all the roads, utilities, and services expected by the members of our community. The project will culminate in a completed community, finished as promised and is envisioned by the town when it annexed the development. The HOA board and members specifically thank the town on the progress to date with the engineering and bidding, which speaks well to the continuing cooperation between the town and the HOA. The benefits to both parties are evident and are being conducted in an open process. We appreciate the town's contracting experience and expertise and assistance, which is a major factor in ensuring a prompt, fair, and transparent bidding process. The town's experience in contract administration will help ensure complete and on-time delivery. We realize this effort has not been without its critics and opponents. Several have given comments at previous meetings at the Board of Aldermen. The HOA will have a special meeting of its members tomorrow, as allowed by our governing documents, to facilitate a vote whether the assessment should be disapproved. While we do not expect this rejection will occur, we will keep you advised of the outcome as we continue to move ahead according to our plan, of which you are a significant party. This community should be completed in due course as proposed. Thank you.
Thank you, Rod. Darling, the timer. Oh, it's not working.
As soon as someone starts, it'll start.
Oh, okay. I just didn't see the light on there. Eunice Stackhouse.
I'm Eunice Stackhouse, 706 Cherokee Avenue. I just have a small request, a suggestion that would make Lake Tomahawk a lot safer for the many people who walk around the path each day. I would just like to see a couple more prominent signs to remind people of the policy against bicycles on the walking path. There is one good no bikes on path sign at the northwest corner of the lake, but this is the only sign that states that bikes are prohibited on the path. And it's really easily seen only by people who are walking or perhaps riding slowly counterclockwise around the lake. So I have reason to think that it's seen by few bikers and certainly very few of their parents. I'm very sympathetic with bikers' needs. I certainly have nothing against bicycles. But it's my understanding that the path around the Lake Tomahawk is a walking path, and a walking path just cannot double as a bike path. Other towns have also discovered this and have dealt with that issue. I have not been injured by a bicycle, but have had many close calls over the years, including an extremely scary one about a month ago when two young bikers approached my husband and me from behind at an incredible speed, leaving no possibility to swerve out of our way because of where we were at the time. It was crowded and noisy that day, so we heard them just barely in time to jerk ourselves out of their path with literally no seconds to spare. If my 90-year-old mother had been walking with me that day, which she does sometimes, we definitely would have had a disaster. I don't know how many injuries there have been there because of this, but I do have a friend here in Black Mountain who broke her collarbone a few years ago when she was knocked over by a bike at Lake Tomahawk. And I've seen so many close calls over the years for myself and for others that I'd be surprised if there haven't perhaps been a few other injuries. It's especially dangerous for the elderly or the handicapped, but I've also seen several young mothers with strollers almost run into because they didn't hear a bike coming up fast and very close behind them. So all I'm asking is for at least one more sign, like the other one, placed prominently near the playground and the main parking lot. It would be helpful also to have one at each end of the dam if possible, because that's where a lot of the teenagers commence their joyrides. There is a reference to bikes on a brown sign near the playground, but it's a long list of various park rules in much smaller print, and it only prohibits bikes from the playground area. It says nothing about the walking path. So I wouldn't doubt that some parents think that sending their bikers around the path is actually a way to obey the playground policy, and I'm quite certain that the mother that was with these two boys that day was not aware of the policy. Of course, enforcing the policy is another matter. I realize that our police officers don't have time to sit around the lake to catch bikers, and I don't expect that. But that's even more reason to get some more signs up. At least more people would be aware of the policy, and I'm sure that some would obey it, especially if the parents see it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eunice. Next, Don Trutwin. I've seen that you've signed up twice, but this second item would be the new business, and there'll be citizen comment at that time.
So wait until that time.
And you can speak to that then. So
Okay.
you have 3 minutes.
Sure. My name is Dawn Trutwin, 111 3rd Street, Black Mountain, North Carolina. Good evening, everyone. I am speaking to you tonight as a small business owner, a member of the Town Planning Board, and as a concerned tax-paying citizen of this community. I am requesting that you, as the Board of Aldermen, tonight make a motion to table until further notice the consent agenda item for BA-FY 2015-14, expenses on Town Square, and to table under new business item B. I can speak to that later if you need me to. A new sidewalk at Town Square. And that you voluntarily assume and execute the responsibilities and authority of your office, your elected office. And to order all records from the Town Square Steering Committee, the Black Mountain Park and Greenways, Inc., all records from Vice Mayor Don Collins, Alderman Larry Harris, the Town of Black Mountain Administration, CFO Dean Luby, Mr. John DeWitt, and Mr. Tom Gill be turned over immediately for an independent audit of that project. And that any funds, the last number that was made available was $101,000 that was left in an operating account held by Mr. John DeWitt of the Black Mountain Parks and Greenways, Inc., be turned over to the town, put in a separate account, and no further expenditures for this project, regarding this project, be made until after the results of the audit. Thank you. Oh, and the records I've requested to be turned over immediately. I've offered these to you before. These are my records, cross-reference, figures and facts. I'm more than willing to provide copies to all of you.
Thank you, Don. Next, Caitlin Wheeler and Taylor from the FFA at Owen.
I'm sorry, I requested that you call for a motion and act on that request.
Oh,
I'm sorry,
this
didn't
is
interrupt you.
this is citizen comment. We listen to the citizens.
And when it comes to action time, you will make that motion and discuss it.
We listen to the citizens.
I'm calling for a
Next,
question.
we heard you.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Taylor Maletti, and I'm the secretary at Charles D. Owen High School, FFA.
I'm Caitlin Wheeler. I'm the reporter of the Charles D. Owen FFA chapter, and I'm here to inform you on the progress of the Owen High School barn. Most of the structural framework has been completed. The next step is to add the side sheds and bracings for the rafters. Once completed, we are to begin the metal roofing and siding. I want to give a big special thanks to Don Collins for all of his assistance on this project. Without the support of the community, this barn could not have been possible.
We'd also like to note that this year we are fortunate to have 2 regional officers, a part of the West Region chapter. Emily Beaver, who is our president of the West Region, and Sierra Geringer, who is our treasurer. For the past 5 years, Owen has had at least 1 regional officer, and they've had 2 regional officers for each of the past 2 years. Also, at Regional Rally, over a month ago, Owen FFA participated in a regional rally with 20 other schools with them. We had 4 teams that are qualified to go compete at the state level. Our Ag Tools team placed 2nd in the region. Our Nursery Landscape placed 2nd in the region. Our Floriculture team placed 3rd in the region. And joining them is our Forestry team who qualified earlier this year. Another thing is we have our state convention, and students from Owen will be traveling to Raleigh for the NCFFA state convention. During this trip, we have 4 students who will be receiving their state degrees: Emily Beaver, Wyatt Reese, Jordan King, and Sierra Geringer. Owen is also very proud to announce that 2 students placed 1st in the state for their proficiency awards: Lainey Everly for community development and Tyler Paysar for vegetable production. Both of these students will be advancing to the national level. Also, Lillian Lowenfield Jane placed in the top 3 for our equine science at Owen, and she will figure out her placings once we get to state. We also have the 2015 National FFA Convention, which will happen in the August area when school starts back up. And we will have 2 students who will be receiving their American degree, which is equal to their an Eagle Scout, becoming an Eagle Scout. Adam Canal, who is currently majoring in biotechnology at NC State, and Tyler Paysar, who is majoring in biology at UNC. We'd like to give a big thank you to Mr. Sobel and Don Collins for giving Owen the FFA the opportunity to come and speak to you guys tonight. Thank you so very much.
Thank you. You all have done a wonderful job. The only thing I would suggest is that when you come, if you'll come back at the September meeting, and then make sure that you end up bringing some pictures so that we can put up, and you would have to get with Angela, which would be our new clerk of the town, and she can get it all ready so that we can show it to the audience here and be on TV. Very good, very good. Okay, that's citizen comment. All right, now we move on to the consent agenda.
Well, you've got reports from planning director and from Diana and Jill.
Oh, I'm sorry, I got you.
That's all right.
All right, I'm going to go through this relatively brief. That way we can save time for questions if you've got some. This is the report from December of last year to May of this year. So permit-wise, we're down a little bit, 20 permits. Single families down about half. Didn't have any new commercial this period. Actually, building inspections were up. Fees are down as well. 74,000 currently for all permits. Single family new 23,000. Didn't have any commercial. And valuations, of course, are down. So we didn't have that many permits done. $2,635,000 in valuations. Privilege licenses, I know we told you these were being done away with, and they are. This is just some lingering ones that we were allowed to charge for before July 1 this year. So a whopping $193.75. Now, complaints and inspections and violations for zoning. 40 complaints are up a little bit. Violations are down significantly due to us sending out written warning letters first, so that cuts down on violations. Inspections, we were up just a little, 119 versus 107, and then we weren't doing zoning permits in 2014, but now we are, so now we've got 41, so that's the difference. What we've been doing as far as staff, we had a Main Street conference we attended, NCASEO Midwinter Conference, Floodplain Annual Conference, Building Inspections, Annual Training for Dan and Jennifer, Green Growth Toolbox Workshop, and a Swannanoa River Stream Cleanup, which ended up actually being just a storm drain badge sticker day. We didn't have enough folks to do the stream cleanup, so we just put down storm drain decals. Planning board and myself, we've done 10 text amendments to the land use code in this past 6 months. Planning studies, the bicycle and pedestrian, or actually it's a bicycle study. That's really more so under Jill's realm, but I do attend those, so that's why it's here. Swannanoa River Watershed Restoration Plan. We have selected a consultant for that. They've already started work. Equinox Environmental did receive that project and should start doing some stakeholder group meetings in the next month or so. And just to go back to the bicycle plan, Costa Lake Planning was awarded that contract a while back, and they're well underway. And as you mentioned, Mayor, we've got a meeting tomorrow night, an open house. So, stormwater mapping study. Land of Sky Regional Council is helping us out with that. We had a stormwater master plan done in 2009. There were a few things missing from it. One in particular was actual GPSing of our inlets, storm drains, things such as that. So this is what he is taking care of right now. I think he's been in the field probably for two and a half weeks, and he's captured over 300 features already. So he's staying busy. Our energy plan update that I'll get to in a couple of slides. It's not all the way complete, 95%, so it's close, but I would prefer to give you a full rollout of that once we've got it all done and can devote a little more time to it. Zoning Board of Adjustment hearings. We've had 2 variance hearings, 3 conditional use permits, and 1 appeal in the past 6 months. Outside meetings that I attend. That's an MPO-TAC meeting, which is our Metropolitan Planning Organization, Technical Advisory Committee meetings, Asheville Regional Housing Commission quarterly meetings, our steering committee for Mountain Mobility, and NCASIA Board of Directors meeting. So now to the energy plan. We did this in 2009, was when the energy plan was complete, and I don't know that we've kind of showcased anything that's been accomplished since then. So that's what we're going to do here. The current status and accomplishments. Since 2009, Town Hall was renovated using green technologies, geothermal insulation, and motion activated lighting. The Bowler and Carver Center was converted from oil to natural gas. Lighting in the police and Carver Center were all, and the fire station, were changed over from T12 to T8 fixtures. We did receive incentives from Duke Energy to do that work. We conducted energy audits on town buildings just last year with the State Energy Office. Lynn Martin came out and did some audits for us to see how efficient our buildings are running. And now we're tracking energy in 9 buildings using something called Portfolio Manager. So now we can make graphs, keep track of energy usage in our buildings to see how we stack up with previous years. So this is just a graph from the update of the energy plan. Carver Center Electric. You can look back in 2014, January to now. You can see that it's slowly decreasing. This would be due to the upgrades that we've made at the Carver Center with roof, window. No, we haven't done windows. Roofs, insulation, and lighting.
But this is just lighting here.
Correct.
Does it have anything to do with the gas?
Correct.
For the heating part of it?
That's correct. So out of the audit recommendations that were done by the State Energy Office, they've changed names, but I'm just going to use that name because I can't remember the name that they are now. But exterior lighting change, when we walked around and did our audits in the buildings, we noticed some changes that still could take place. Still got some incandescent light bulbs being used. We could change those to CFLs or LEDs. We still need to replace windows, adjust doors, and replace weather stripping. And these are not specific to any building. This is just across the board. Replace flush valves with low flow on the toilets. Install sink aerators. Pretty simple stuff. A lower hot water heater, set point to 125 degrees. Replace an on-demand whenever we need to when one fails. Add occupancy sensors in buildings that don't have these. and replace inappropriately sized HVAC systems. We've also been working on a public GIS website. So this would be a geographic information system website for anybody to use, gain access to, kind of like what Buncombe County does now. But this one would just showcase Black Mountain. You'd be able to access stuff such as zoning, destinations, parcel information, similar stuff that you can on Buncombe County, but we would just tailor it to us. And I'm going to take you to the website real quick. Cannot locate the internet server. That's, how did I guess that would not work? Anyway, it should take you directly to the website, but it's not working. So, and that's it. Questions? I hate that I couldn't showcase that website. Land of Sky helped us do that out, so it helped us do it. It wasn't all done in house, but they did a great job with helping us out on that, and it'll be an asset for folks to use.
I would point out too that we are having the town website is in the process of being updated now for all the departments, and that'll be obviously we'll have that link resolved, and that'll be part of the town's new website too when it's highlighted and released.
On the when you talk about your strategic energy plan update, if you gave us this here on the electric.
Yes.
If you could sometime when you get the time in the future there to give us an update on the amount of natural gas and the cost, it'd be very interesting to see just
Absolutely.
how much that we've saved. I know that we've saved on natural gas purchases because natural gas is cheaper than heating oil. But then also too, this coming winter as to how the insulation has helped reduce that. Not only there, but it'd be like at the fire department too. Because when they went ahead and put that new roof on, they had to put insulation in.
And once we get those once we get through the winter, I think we'll see that. We'll be glad to get that back to you.
Yeah. Just on a little specific there, you're talking here about whenever we do replace, when a hot water heater goes out, we're going to be doing an on-demand. I'm assuming that's on-demand electric.
I think that's how it works. I don't have enough. I can't probably speak to that intelligently, okay. But yes.
The only thing I was just wondering, do you think it'd be worth it to go ahead and put timers on the existing hot water heaters so that they go off and on so we're not heating that water all night long?
That'd be a bad idea.
If you could just maybe look into that to see, because I think that may be, and of course then I like the on-demand. I mean, that certainly is costs a little more to set it up, but that certainly is the most energy efficient one we have. And also too, that you're the ones that put on the window program on May the 30th?
That was through our Historic Preservation Commission, correct?
Okay, and something like that would just be ideal to have on the website, so that people that wish to do some modifications with their own window rehabbing can end up. At least that's a nice link to link them to other places.
And we're working on getting, when our new website rolls out, we're working on getting a lot of things on there energy efficiency related. We've had our intern work on some stuff as far as links and sending folks to places. They need to look for how they do efficient light bulbs or HVAC or weather stripping or windows or whatever they might need to do.
And the window replacement workshop was on the web page. I do think a newer, an updated design, which I think will highlight that in a way that draws more people to it.
Anyway, good. That's the question. Anybody else have any questions?
Josh, on the NC Main Street program, have we had any discussions, either, I don't know, at the administrative or the planning board level about, since NC Commerce has opened that program back up for membership, about pursuing that as something for the town as a...
The planning board and I have not had a conversation about it. Matt and I have spoke about it briefly.
There's some budgetary issues involved with, and you're aware of that too. I mean, there's some cost involved. So while Josh has provided a lot of good information on it, I think the budgetary issues are the aspect that we're looking into.
Anybody else? If not, good enough. Thank you, Josh. Appreciate it. Next we have up is the garden programs update. I had asked Diana McCall and Jill Edwards to come and make a shorter presentation than they had given at the national presentation, but I'll turn it over to them.
So I'm Diana McCall. I'm Jill Edwards, and we work with the Parks and Rec Department. I work with all of our health programs, and Diana focuses especially on community gardens. So we're going to take a few minutes and tell you about our garden programs. We thought we'd start off with just a quick snapshot. One of our big things right now is youth gardens. In the fall, we had an after-school garden club, and this was their harvest party toward the middle of November, and all of the kids and their parents showed up and had a fabulous time cooking and learning and sharing. And so we just wanted to give you an idea about that. And a couple of them are here with us tonight.
And to clarify our program, although we operate under Parks and Recreation, the umbrella name for our programming is Eat Smart Black Mountain. So all of our programs fall under Eat Smart Black Mountain.
So we want to start off with our youth gardens. We have a few different areas that we work with youth. One is the After School Garden Club. This is one that has been going on since at least 2007. And every year they've had a handful of kids in the fall and a handful in the spring. And this fall, when I opened it up, expecting a handful, I had 28 kids sign up from the 4th and 5th grades, which is a great challenge. So we spent the fall out there, and the kids religiously came. We had 25 kids come through the fall, and this spring we split it into 2 groups and have had 18 kids coming regularly. Every week they come after school 1 day a week, and they work in their garden, doing everything from growing annuals to perennials, and learning about those things. And then their snack is also based on whatever it is that they're gardening, so what they're planting, what they're harvesting, and so they're hands-on practicing cooking in healthy ways. And one of the things that we've heard back from parents is this is affecting the way that their family is eating, that they're taking these recipes home, that they're asking to eat these things at home, and so the whole family is changing to a slightly healthier way of eating, so that's great. Another thing that we've done is classroom helpers. This was primarily at the primary school. We have a volunteer who offered to just go into the classrooms and help whatever they needed. And that morphed into their own version of garden club there during their activity period, and he's had a great time with all the kids at the primary school. We have a middle school intern program that was started by direct request by our lovely Amber. She went through the after school garden club for 2 years, and all through 5th grade, she kept asking, what are you going to do when I get to middle school? And we've actually been working with the middle school staff to work on their garden programs. But we created and pilot tested this year a middle school intern, and Amber has been our pilot, and so she comes to our school after her school gets done, spends the afternoon helping out with garden club, and then sticking around and doing a couple extra things and learning hands-on. And the 5th graders this year are dying to apply to do it again in the fall, and so we're looking at ways that we can make sure that we can do that. And then lastly, we've started the Lakeview Garden Club, and you may have seen this if you've been at Lake Tomahawk in the last month. The terraced beds right by the building, we needed to remove the bushes that were growing there, and so we took that as an opportunity to start gardening there. And so those are actually accessible gardens, that the first layer is at about a counter height, and so you don't have to kneel or bend to garden there, so that people with limited mobility can still have that joy of gardening. So we have senior citizens gardening alongside with youth. We've had 7 people start up in the last 6 weeks. And we have a tier that is vegetables, and then the second level is herbs, and the third level is flowers. And we've been concentrating on flowers that are perennial, that will keep growing, and that can be cut and used as cut flowers for the lunch site there at Lakeview, because that really helps to brighten their day as well. And the Lakeview Garden Club is going to be continuing throughout the summer. They're meeting in the mornings now on Thursdays at 10 a.m., and seniors as well as children of all ages are welcome to participate in that.
So since 2005, I've been involved with the Dr. John Wilson Community Garden, and I'm now a town employee managing that part-time year-round. And the garden does a number of things. It provides growing space for over 70 families in our community, and it also provides meaningful service opportunities. Last year, we saw over 1,700 hours of service donated, and that's what I was able to get people to log in the logbook. So it's probably a lot more. What those volunteers do is help to maintain that 3-acre site. So they kind of act like 2 other full-time employees over the course of the year. We have over 100 fruit and nut trees on the property. We have a native species and medicinal plant trail that's over 300 feet long.
We have, and then we have annual vegetable crops that we grow on about 4,000 square feet, and that's just for donation. And right now, thanks to a mentor that has come into my life to really bring French biointensive techniques and biodynamic methodologies to the garden, last week we pulled 300 pounds of just greens off of about 2,000 square feet. And we had already pulled 175 out the 2 weeks before. So we have really, I mean, we're pulling massive quantities of food out of the garden, out of a small space. Each of the gardeners also designates the first 5 feet of their row for donation. We call it our 10% program, kind of in honor of Dr. Wilson, because I had to figure out a way to make up for the fact that he wasn't there every day. So I had to get 70 people to make up for him. So that program grows around 1,000 pounds of produce annually, just off of the first 5 feet of all those families' beds. And then the additional 4,000 square feet grows around 2,000 to 3,000, although numbers are going to really change this year because our techniques are changing. So the other thing that we have going on in terms of community gardening in the town is we have the Lake Tomahawk Garden, which is the original location where Dr. Wilson first started it, probably about 20 years ago now. And we still have about 11 families that grow there on Lake Tomahawk. And then the other piece that we've been working on for the last 2 years is a garden at the Carver Community Center. There's a beautiful south-facing site on the backside of Carver. And we've had a few folks, we double dug the beds, we've had a few folks garden over the years. And what we're really looking forward to doing next is to making that site handicap accessible, because it's a perfect site for it. You can pull right up to the garden beds, and we're looking to build actual raised, waist-high, elevated beds. Okay. So the reason that we're here, other than just sharing this little snapshot, is that in the fall, Diana and I presented to the National Recreation and Parks Association at their National Congress. And shared about what we're doing with gardening in the town of Black Mountain. We've actually had people come out here to see what we're doing because of that. And talk about asset-based community development. And the idea that here in Black Mountain, we really strive to look at, instead of saying, what are we lacking, to say, what is it that we have and what can we do with those things? We also, in the fall, were named a North Carolina Native Garden by the North Carolina Native Plant Society. And they were really excited because we're the first garden that they've certified that has Jerusalem artichokes, which have become very prolific in Black Mountain. Everybody loves and shares those. And it just started with one person doing it and has become a community-wide thing. We have the elevated beds that we're excited about. We're looking forward to getting those in place and to making gardening accessible to some of our people who are no longer able to get down to the Dr. Wilson garden, or people who have had to quit gardening because of health reasons. We recently had some really unique farm tours. The garden was turned into a little bit of a European pastoral setting, cum art museum. We turned the side of the barn into a gallery. There were probably over 100 paintings hanging from the side of the barn. And then we had about 13 artists, plein air painters, scattered throughout the garden. And we were one of 11 gardens or farms on a tour 2 weekends ago called Articulture, combining art with agriculture. And I was really excited. We're the only community garden to participate on this tour of 11 farms. And it was a really unique opportunity. And some of the artists were so thrilled with the beauty of our site, which, as anyone who has known what the garden looked like some 10 years ago, is really a huge transformation. It's really come a long way. And so for plein air painters to come and just not want to leave, and some of them have even been coming back now to paint at the garden, it's been really cool. And then the garden is also a member of an alliance throughout West North Carolina called Gardens That Give, and it's an alliance that I, along with a couple of other head gardeners from other community gardens that grow food for donation, started about 4 or 5 years ago. We give presentations and consultation for other gardens that want to do this kind of work, and then we also use each other as a resource. And one of those ways that we do that is we provide public garden tours now. And so we open our gardens up to the community so that folks can come and find out, how do you grow a garden, or how do you maintain and sustain a garden that gives? We have an amazing native garden that we've been in partnership with lots of different volunteer groups that is along the Village Way, which runs between the primary and the elementary school. And then finally, another recent accomplishment, we're in our second year of this, we're really excited about it. We partner with Bounty and Soul. And Bounty and Soul is
an amazing partner for us. They are who distributes all the food that we grow. And they do nutrition education and cooking classes and really get people taking this food home and eating it healthily. And the other piece of that we've now started doing is garden education. So back in May, second Tuesday of May, I went with 500 plants and we did a container gardening workshop and sent home between 5 and 10 plants with probably 90 families. And then what we're doing now is every second Tuesday of the month, I and other volunteers from the community who are garden knowledgeable are going and doing garden education. And it's kind of a show and tell opportunity. So people can come in with their questions and their problems, but also their successes and their stories. And it becomes this sort of round table discussion around gardening. And then the other piece of it that we're really excited about is last year we selected 2 applicants and we're expanded this year to 4. And we have sponsors in the community that sponsor raised beds at people's homes. And then we get a volunteer mentor from the community to mentor them. And they're required to give them a weekly phone call and do a monthly site visit to coach them in the process of learning how to garden and how to grow food for themselves. And it's a 4 by 8 square foot bed, and it's just dipping people's toes in agriculture and getting them to feel that sense of being able to caretake themselves.
So a lot of this is brought out again by our assets, the partnerships that make our garden programs grow and thrive. Diana and I do a tremendous amount of work with the little amount of time that we have, and that's possible because of all of our assets and our partners. And I know this is a little hard to see, but we wanted to give you an idea of the types of assets that we're talking about. There are 5 types. Get off of the, there we go. There are 5 types of assets that we think about. We think about institutions, which includes the town of Black Mountain and the Parks and Rec Department and all of that. Warren Wilson College is another institution that's a big one for us. They supply a lot of volunteers and expertise and ideas. Bounty and Soul is another one that we're pretty connected to. They do so much to help share produce and make sure that everyone who has a desire or a need for food has access to that. Associations like the Health Initiative Task Force, it's another one of those task forces that you all support. The local ecology includes the river and the land right there at the garden, at the Dr. Wilson Garden in particular. The nearby horse farm for their tireless support of the gardens, and the hill in the building as well.
Because we catch water off of the Gray Eagle Arena roof. So we have 6 1,100-gallon rain barrels that collect water from the Gray Eagle. And that's gravity fed down to the garden as our water source.
So we also look at businesses and individuals, and these are all the individual businesses as well as just the personal individuals, everything from the mentor that's working with Diana to revitalize the way that we do gardening there at the Dr. Wilson Garden, to this fall, the After School Garden Club wanted to plant bulbs at their garden to have flowers throughout the year, and so they decorated a box, and Melly Mac let them put it at Melly Mac's Garden Shack, and you could go in there and bring bulbs from home, or you could buy some right there and drop them in the box. And they collected hundreds of flower bulbs to fill their garden with. And so every time that we have an idea or that someone has a question, we figure out a way to do that with the assets that we have here in town. And it's really a unique and remarkable place to be able to do these sorts of things.
And this whole asset-based community development model is actually a model that's been around for some 20 years. It was founded at the Northwestern University, or at the Institute there. And I wound up being asked to give a TEDx talk. If you're familiar with TED, it's an international speaking forum. And that talk about the Dr. John Wilson Community Garden has actually gone international in the Asset-Based Community Development Institute. So our work is not only getting nationally recognized, but it's also being internationally recognized. We recently had a consultant from the Asset-Based Community Development Institute email me to let me know that our talk had gone all the way over to Australia.
So when we went to speak with the NRPA convention in the fall, we spent an hour and a half coaching people from parks and rec agencies across the country to think about what they want to do, not in terms of what their needs are, what they lack, but in terms of what are their assets and what are these things that exist in these categories. And so we spent a whole workshop just talking about those, sharing a little bit about what we have to get them thinking, but also to get them thinking about their own. And clearly we're not going to take all of that amount of time here for you all.
But it's that mindset that gets Jill and I so excited every day to come to work, because we live in an incredible town with an incredible diversity of assets. And when you go to work every day thinking of like, who am I going to meet today and what am I going to learn about them, it makes going to work really fun.
So looking ahead and thinking in terms of our assets, there are a couple of projects we have in the works right now. One is that Pentair, which used to be Tyco down on Old 70, they're working on their green certification and all of these incredible things they have going on there. One of them is that they're developing a community garden right there that they want to open up to anyone who wants to garden there. And they're planning to provide it free of charge and to make it just accessible to the community. We've already connected them to New Sprout Farms, which is one of our lovely assets. And they're partnering on some things, and we're just consulting with them and saying, hey, this isn't something that we're running. This isn't something that we want to be in charge of. This is just something that we want to help make happen, because our goal is so that everyone in Black Mountain can walk or wheel to their own garden space.
Yeah, let's reiterate that. Our goal is that everyone in Black Mountain can walk or wheel to their garden space.
So the other big project that we're working on continually is developing an outdoor kitchen over at the Dr. Wilson Garden, and we see a lot of potential there. We've done some fundraising. We're actually waiting to hear back from some things as well, but we see that happening pretty soon.
Yeah, the outdoor kitchen and educational facility so that we can meet as a community. I mean, everyone knows when you go to a party, where do you all wind up? In the kitchen. And we need that at the community garden. We need that place where when everyone gets done working, they're not standing in their 2-foot wide pathways trying to have a conversation, but they're sitting down at a table and they're sharing some of their fresh produce together around the table with a meal.
And we're doing cooking demonstrations so that when you're walking by, you can learn about what to do with these strange vegetables. So that if you wanted to learn about how to cook these things, we schedule times for that. So we see a lot of possibility there. So with all of that, hopefully encapsulated not too long, we invite you to ask some questions, take a self-tour, especially at the Dr. Wilson Garden. It's really easy to just sort of walk through and enjoy what's going on there. You can also set up a tour. We're happy to set up a time for you to come and see the youth gardens, the community gardens, to tour all of them, to tour one or more of them, and to also participate either as a gardener or a volunteer or a supporter.
Yeah, be one of those 1,700 hours this year.
All right. So what questions do you all have about any of this?
Anyone from the board? I hope the community understands exactly what jewel this is in the crown of Black Mountain. And for the town to be able to have two such qualified ladies to help this along and to be so creative, and especially with their latest project of going ahead and having a handicap garden so that people in wheelchairs can actually garden, I think that's just phenomenal. So thank you, girls. Continue on with the good work.
Thanks for having us.
Now, we get to the consent agenda. Okay. That was I was confused on that.
That's we have a lot going on. So I will I'll go over the consent agenda. You've got the adoption of minutes from the agenda workshop and the regular session in May. You've got a budget amendment for minor improvements to the town square. Those are purchases of bricks, some signs that were put on the bathrooms there, and the electrical work from the clock and the kiosk and a Christmas tree at Christmas time. That's in the amount of $5,302.25, and that of course comes in the form of a reimbursement from the Greenway Foundation. If you'll recall, we generally make those expenses fall on the town. We provide the expense for that, and then we are reimbursed back from the foundation. You've got a budget amendment for part-time golf operations. This doesn't have any impact on the bottom line for golf. This is just moving between two line items between contracted services and moving it to contracted services out of the salary line item, because we've been using contracted services to offset or to supplement our labor costs out there. You've got a budget amendment for the Swananoa River Watershed Restoration Plan. This is just to recognize, the plan actually is $40,000. This is to recognize the first $25,000 of that plan that we received a grant from the Pigeon River Fund. We received an additional grant to Land of Sky that actually goes through Land and Sky to us. So we'll come back with the additional amount for that. So it's a $40,000 plan. This is the first $25,000 that there's no expense to the town. We received grants for both portions of that, but it's in two forms. So this is a $25,000 grant to start that project. We've got a budget amendment to transfer $50,000 into our capital reserve fund for the future purchase of a fire truck. That, in addition to our budgeted amount in the upcoming year of $75,000, is a total of $200,000 set aside for the future purchase of a fire truck. So I think so I think those capital reserve funds have served us well as in terms of a budgeting and fiscal planning tool for future purchases. You've got a budget amendment for legal fees related to the settings. I think you had heard that mentioned earlier, but as of course the infrastructure bond has been released. It's in an account for the town, and we have an expense for that of around $71,000, and so those are being reimbursed back to the town out of those proceeds. You've got a budget amendment for engineering related to the settings. If you recall, last month we set aside $25,000 for the engineering portion of carrying out the bidding and the construction oversight for that project. As the scope of services came back for that, it's actually around $31,000 to do that. That again will come out of the infrastructure proceeds or the bond proceeds, but we need to add an additional $6,000 for that fund. And then you've got a call for public hearing to reorganize the Housing Commission and assign the duties to the Planning Board. We discussed this at the agenda session and discussed this a little bit over time. I know that when I first started here, the Housing Commission had 9 members. They had a hard time having a quorum to have meetings. They were reduced to 5 members. I think while they don't have, I think now they're able to have a quorum. We have a couple going off. I know that Anna is moving off the Housing Commission, and a couple are moving off the Housing Commission. And it just appears that in terms of meeting the needs that the Housing Commission provides, it generally goes through the Planning Board anyway, and then to the Board of Aldermen. So a couple of members of the Housing Commission are now on, or at least one member of the Housing Commission is now on the Planning Board, and one member of the Housing Commission has applied to be on the Planning Board. So I think you still have those same expertise on the Planning Board. They can set it up as a committee of the Planning Board and meet that same mission and vision of the Housing Commission without having an extra layer of meetings set up for a different commission. So we would ask you to call for a public hearing to amend our code of ordinances and amend our land use code to reflect that. And that is the consent items that you have on your agenda tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Do I hear a motion that we pass the consent agenda?
So moved.
Any discussion on any of the items before we vote? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Pass unanimously. Okay, we've done that. Now we have citizen comment before the new business. And Don Trutwin had signed up, so Don, you've got 3 minutes.
I would request that you as a board remove item 6B. And I had a question. Who are the members of the Town Square Committee who recommended this?
Town Square Committee is no longer in existence.
Yeah, that's what you served on. And it was.
You are the liaison for the Town Square.
No, it expired. The Town Square Committee expired in about February.
And who are the members that were reappointed to it?
It expired. There's not one. Am I not correct with that?
Because your motion says the Town Square Committee is requesting approval to construct additional sidewalk at the Town Square. There is no Town Square Committee anymore?
I think we have a reduced membership that was Bob Headley, John DeWitt, and Jesse Gardner to make recommendations from the foundation as and this would be similar to how this.
And they are the members of that committee.
There's not a committee in the same way because the project is considered complete.
They made these recommendations. Those 3 people: John DeWitt, Jesse Gardner, and who else?
Bob Headley and John DeWitt and Jesse Gardner are the 3 that I think work collectively to make recommendations
to make recommendations
for the town.
And under the funding source, it said it's funded by Parks and Greenway Foundation.
I mean, you know.
14 to
this is-
$18,000.
I don't know how the citizen comment section is
Well,
supposed to
yeah,
work here.
this is supposed to be, we're not a question and answer here.
Well, you're
If you
taking
would
action.
look at the agenda, you will see it says citizen comment.
I'm making
Please,
comments.
please make your comments, and then if this
Okay.
board wishes to go ahead and respond later on,
I just
they will.
needed some
I just need
some clarification
comments.
on who was recommending this, and the cost of it is $14,000 to $18,000. And you have as the funding source the Parks and Greenway Foundation, and the funding source for all the money that was raised for the Town Square project, any future cost for the Town Square project is held and is collected and expended by the Black Mountain Parks and Greenways, Inc. There are two separate entities. You do understand that, don't you? There's the foundation and there's the Park and Greenways, Inc. And the sole incorporator of that corporation is Mr. John DeWitt, who is also the holder of the $101,000 left that was raised from the Town Square fundraising project. That is why I am requesting that you make this motion to freeze all accounts, all spending, all reimbursements regarding this project, and with your authority, request all records to be turned over and an audit to be done.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate
I
your
would like a
time.
response as to that.
This
I
is-
would like
this-
to call for the question.
We call questions here.
Good, then please do that.
We appreciate your time. Thank you for speaking.
Okay, I asked you to responsibly step up and fulfill your duties.
Thank you. Your
I was
time,
advised by
3
a
minutes,
CPA
3
that the
minutes.
only other recourse I had was to call the district attorney's office in Buncombe County and have them make this request. And I have done that. Thank you very much.
Okay, we'll move on now to new business.
Your refusal is appalling.
Under new business, Mr. Mayor, you've got the master plan amendment for Montreat and the Oaks, and I would, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like, if Jesse Gardner wouldn't mind, just going over it briefly, since he was has been working with Montreat College on this.
Thank you, Mayor, Board of Aldermen. I'm Jesse Gardner. I'm with Civil Design Concepts. I'll be the project engineer here for Montreat College. Tonight with me I have Athletic Director Coach Jose Larios, CFO of Montreat College, Jack Heinen, and then representing the developer and turf manufacturer for this new complex that's proposed tonight is Mike Cachet with Sportsfield Engineering. Up on the board, and I think each of you sort of have a handout, just to give you, I want to give you a little update of the existing piece. I think most of you are aware the Montreat College owns 89, plus or minus 89 acres here. On the north side is bound by railroad tracks, Norfolk Southern Railroad tracks. The west side runs all the way over to Blue Ridge Road, the old, what people call the stump dump. You can see Black Mountain Town Rec Park there, sort of to the southwest of us. Tomahawk Branch sort of splits, bifurcates the 89 acres. On the east side, you have Vance Avenue that dead ends into the existing In the Oaks Connector Greenway to the south of our property, and then I-40 directly to the south of our property. As you just sort of look at the existing conditions, what we're here today for, you can sort of see the manor house there in the middle, it's sort of hidden, wooded. This project's primarily focused on, we're calling it sports complex. You can see the existing soccer field that's there today. It's oriented more north-south. You have an existing softball field, which is sort of oriented to the southeast. I've highlighted all this area that's part of the revision to the master plan here in white. The area just to the east of that, I have noted as that was a project and an update to the master plan I brought before this board back in 2011. That was part of the master plan that was called the Villages at Montreat. Approximately 156 bedroom dormitory housing project. That's not under consideration tonight. That's still a part of the master plan. I just wanted to show its placeholder and how it relates to the project here. And flip one more slide to the proposed plan. Primarily, we're here because this property zone institutional has an institutional zoning. That is a master plan type zoning, which is sort of similar to Cheshire, which came in front of you, I think, a month ago at the last board meeting. So basically, the zoning has some general parameters, but the overlying zoning is done by a master plan. The villages was part of that master plan that was brought in front of this group and the planning board back in 2011, and it's showing. I've left it just showing as is. We're here tonight because, according to the zoning code, if you reorient or relocate an athletic facility, that's considered a major modification, and part of that process is bringing it back in front of the board tonight. So here in front of you is the proposed plan. The sports complex consists of a new state-of-the-art turf, soccer, and lacrosse field, a 400-meter track around that field. And due to the addition of the track, the orientation had to shift. Now you see that it's facing more east-west. Part of that, as we fit the new track and complex in, we encroached onto the existing softball field. And so we're also having to relocate the existing softball field down there just a little to the north and east. We plan also to improve the little parking areas, rebuild some of the gravel parking areas. We're going to construct a public bathroom facility, so athletes and spectators have restroom facilities on site, and other parts of requirements with developing within town of Black Mountain. We've provided areas for stormwater controls, rain gardens, and shot put area. The little circle there to the southeastern corner, that's an existing town well. We've made sure to maintain our buffer, required buffer to the existing town well, and actually are pulling some of the existing softball field outside of that well buffer. The yellow area that follows Vance Avenue is something we've worked with Josh, given we are adjacent to to basically a connector between In the Oaks and the sort of Ingalls Dog Park Greenway. This area is highlighted as a future pedestrian and greenway route. We've saved an extra 20 feet outside of Vance Avenue of property to be dedicated to the town of Black Mountain for future use of connection of those greenways. Pretty simple from this revision to the master plan. I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have, and that sort of completes my presentation. And we also, if you have any questions regarding the make and material of the sports fields or anything with Montreat, we'd be glad to answer those questions for you.
When's your completion date for this? What's your schedule?
The sports complex, we are running with construction drawings and designs. We're wanting to break ground immediately, and goal is to get athletics playing there as quickly as we can in the fall. So we're anxious to begin.
Do you have any other, besides being here tonight, any other permits to obtain before?
Yes. So the master plan sort of covers our zoning permit. Typical process with any development in the town of Black Mountain. The town reviews a grading permit and a stormwater permit. We also get another review by Buncombe County for a grading permit because of the disturbances of our 1 acre. We have a water permit that the town reviews locally, but then also forwards to Raleigh for a water line extension. And then we also get an MSD review to extend public sewer to serve the bathroom facility. So
do you have to have any of that completed before you start construction?
We have to have the grading permit and stormwater permit reviews completed before we can break ground. The water and sewer can come afterwards, but yeah, have to have those in hand.
Will that be in the next month?
Yes, sir.
Any more questions? If not, appreciate it. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Any discussion, further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Pass unanimously. Next on the new business is the sidewalk to Town Square.
Yeah, and I'll be glad to, you've got, of course, the proposal in your agenda packet, and basically this is a sidewalk, and maybe Jesse or somebody else can comment if there's additional questions. But this is a sidewalk that comes from the lower parking lot where the handicap, we've got two spaces down there, a handicap van space and a handicap parking space. This will bring a sidewalk up from there. You can see along there, connecting up to the sidewalk that's at the bathrooms. It has a section of stairs. It's kind of a winding sidewalk to meet ADA compliance regulations, and so there's a section of stairs that kind of connect through there if somebody, I think just in anticipation of people cutting through there, and some landscaping that goes with it, and a pad under the rocking chairs that are there now. So that's the proposal. I think and again, as you're aware, the way we generally have done this is that the town provides the funding for that, and then we invoice the Greenway Foundation or whichever group has done all the private fundraising, and they reimburse us for our expenses for that. So there won't be any cost to the town for this project.
Okay. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve construction sidewalks at Town Square.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed unanimously. Now we get to the fun stuff, appointing the board, the boards and commissions. And this is what I use, Anna?
Yes.
And I'm the italicized? Okay.
I hope I haven't stumbled yet.
Yeah. First is at ABC Board. There is one vacancy to be filled for a 3-year term ending June 30th, 2008. Are there any nominations?
I nominate Rick Harwood.
Do I hear any other nominations? If not, all those in favor of Rick, please.
Aye.
Opposed? So that's 5-0. Rick is appointed to the ABC Board. The Greenways Commission. There are 3 vacancies to be filled, each for a 3-year term ending June 30th, 2018. We will fill these vacancies one at a time. Are there nominations for the first?
I'd like to nominate Pam King.
Pam King.
Move to nominate Becky James.
We'll do one at a time.
Yeah.
All right, so all in favor of Pam King?
Aye.
Opposed? So that's 5-0. So she is appointed. Now we have to do the same for we got 2 more to go.
Nominate Becky James.
Becky James. Any other nominations for the second position? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's also a 5-0. Now for the third.
I'd like to nominate Fred Grogan.
Fred Grogan. Any other nominations? If not, all in favor of Fred?
Aye.
Aye.
That also is a 5-0. We go to the Historic Preservation Commission. There are 2 vacancies here, each for a 3-year term, ending June 30, 2018. We'll do the same thing except do them one at a time because there's 2. Nomination for the first vacancy.
I nominate Pam King.
We'll just put Pam on another board.
Oh, I'm sorry. Forgive me. I'm sorry. Shonda Richardson. I would nominate Shonda Richardson.
Shonda Richardson, okay. Any other nominations for the first vacancy? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, so unanimous. Second, Do I have a nomination to fill the second vacancy?
I nominate Nancy McKay.
All right. Since there's no more nominations, we will vote for her to fill the second vacancy. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Nancy McKay. All right, Housing Commission, we're not gonna do anything on that now. Planning Board, there are 4 vacancies to be filled. One for the unexpired term that will end June 30th, 2017, so that'll be a 2-year term. And then the other 3 will be for 3-year terms. So, do I hear a nomination to fill the unexpired term?
I'm not saying that there's an unexpired term there.
I'm not either.
One for an unexpired term.
It says 1 2-year unexpired. Somebody's
Who?
Okay.
who's
I guess I
leaving.
was looking to see. Oh, I see.
Somebody's.
Could be.
In the records, we have one that's a resignation. It's not all.
Yeah.
That's right. Mike Raines resigned.
Resigned last month, yes.
Okay.
I'd like to nominate John Shea for the expiring term.
Okay, John Schaaf. Okay, any other nominations?
Nominate Tom Gill.
Let's do one at a time.
Yeah.
We'll do one at a time.
You can take more nominations than
Yeah.
one on each spot, but just
This is for the unexpired.
So we just want to leave this one nomination for this spot.
I was nominating John for the expiring.
I was nominating Tom for the expired.
Okay, so we got 2 for this.
So there's 2. Okay. All right, so we got Tom Gill. And any other nominations for this spot? All right, we'll vote numerical order. All those in favor of Tom Gill?
Aye.
He has 1 vote. All those in favor of John Shea?
Aye.
So that's 4. John will be filling Mike Raines' spot for 2 years. All right, second nomination. This is for a 3-year term.
I'd like to nominate Lisa Milton.
Lisa Milton. Any other nominations? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's 5-0.
I'd like to nominate Doug Brock.
Doug Brock. That'll be for the 3rd position. Any other nominations? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's 5-0. We have 1 left.
I'd like to nominate Bob Chilmonic.
Okay. Any other nominations? Not, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's opposed. That's also 5-0. Recreation Commission, there are 3 vacancies to be filled, each for a 3-year term. Nomination to fill the first vacancy. Do I have a nomination?
I nominate Judy Eubanks.
Judy Eubanks. Any other nominations for that first position? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's unopposed. That's unanimous.
I'd like to nominate Daniel Bennett.
Any other nominations? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's 5-0. And the third one?
I'd like to nominate Brian Burpo.
Brian Burpo. Okay, any other nominations? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That's also 5-0. Okay. go to the Urban Forestry Commission, and there's one vacancy for 3 years.
Nominate John Richardson.
John Richardson. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous. And the last one is the Zoning Board of Adjustments. There is one vacancy for the position of third alternate. Are there any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Jillian Ballard.
Okay, Jillian Ballard. Any others? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. You made that go so smoothly. Make sure, Angela, make sure that we keep this as a template for next year. That's very good. Thank you, Anna. Okay, now we've got to call a public hearing for text amendments to the Erosion Prevention and Slope Protection Ordinance. Do I hear a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the public hearing is open for people wishing to speak to the text amendment to the Erosion Prevention and Slope Protection Ordinance.
And I'd be glad to have Josh. I was going to say, I'd be glad to have Josh just give you a brief overview of why we're.
We got people speaking, but.
Okay, so you have the amendment in front of you, which is underlined and in bold, but I'll read kind of the summary of the need for this. Due to lots and developments that were pre-existing before the enactment of our Erosion Prevention and Slope Protection Ordinance, many of the lots would not be able to conform to the standards required for the minimum lot size, which would leave many lots unbuildable. The proposed amendment would allow for existing lots to be exempt from the lot size requirement only, but still have to conform to all their standards in the existing ordinance. These standards are things such as, based on slope percentage, they've got to get certain engineering documents, such as geotechnical engineering reports stating that it would be safe to build on the lot that they own. So the new amendment would read, I guess I'll just read this out loud. I don't know how to do it any easier. I'll just read existing. When I get to new, I'll just say new, I guess. Any portion of the lot, parcel, or tract of land which has been approved by the planning department or planning board as a major or minor subdivision or special use permit prior to the adoption of this section, or developed prior to the adoption of this section. This is the new part. Or any lot pre-existing before the adoption of this section shall not be subject to the minimum lot size requirements as stated in this chapter.
Is it fair to say then, Josh, that we're not changing any of our erosion control and slope requirements? All we're doing is allowing what seemed to be a conflict in the wording and the intent anyway, which is that we're allowing development to occur, but you're going to meet the requirements if you have, obviously, depending on what your slope is.
Correct. After discussions with Town Attorney Ron Sneed and the Planning Board, the decision was that the way it is currently written is not the way that it was originally supposed to be written. So what this does is clear that up and allow people to build on lots that they own that are pre-existing to this ordinance, as long as they meet the other requirements besides the minimum lot size. Because if you've got a certain amount of, if you have a certain amount of slope, and this is for example, if you've got, let's say 40% slope, our ordinance may require you to have 3 acres to build on. So if you've got less than 3 acres, you can't build on that piece of property.
But it's if you own the property prior to you own the property prior to
No, not now.
a certain date?
Well, not now, because now what it'll be is you no matter the size of your property, if you can meet the steep slope, the erosion control and slope requirements that we have in place currently, then you can build on that lot.
Let me clarify. That would be today. If you've got a 2-acre lot and you come in and subdivide it into 1-acre lots, then you've got to meet the minimum lot size requirement. So this would just be anything that's on the ground today. If you come in and subdivide property, then you fall under the whole thing.
Okay, so that's a good point too, is that it's not including lots that are subdivided, because then they're going to have to meet all the requirements. All this is saying is existing, because what's happening is we either have to decide whether we're just going to tell people that you can't build on this lot ever, because you don't have the acreage, or we're going to say, look, if you can meet the requirements of the rules that we already have in place, which our understanding was that was the intention anyway, was to put erosion control requirements in place. People could develop safely on their property, and just the wording of it did not. I think as Josh reviewed it, the wording didn't accommodate that, and so this is more of an effort to get the language to accommodate the ordinance that we have in mind.
Right, and we have that in place, like I said, to make sure someone can't come in, buy a 5-acre tract of land and break it up into 10 lots. Then they would fall under the minimum lot size requirement then.
Okay, the public hearing is still open. The amendment has been discussed. Does anybody wish to speak to it? If not, I hear a motion. Do I hear a motion to close the public hearing? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, now I need a motion to adopt proposed ordinance O-15-10 text amendment.
So moved.
All right, Larry's made a motion. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passed. Now we need to get a motion to adopt the statement of consistency.
So moved.
All right, Ryan made that. Any discussion? Not all in favor? Opposed? That's unanimous. Okay. Mr. Sneed is on vacation. I hope that he is doing nothing and resting later. Matt.
Just a couple of quick things. I would I don't know if you saw this, but the police chief has been sending around an email that I hope everybody sees. But we were ranked as the #9 safest city in North Carolina. I think we should pat ourselves on the back for being safe. So we appreciate all that everyone does, especially the police department, to keep Black Mountain safe. And then a couple of quick introductions. I know that Max is here. Max is our intern in the planning department. He's here for the next 10 weeks or so. We're pleased to have him. We'll have a handful of projects, and when you all think of things that planning-wise that you want him to do, go see him and pile it on him. Then finally, and I wish that I could be nearly as eloquent as Jack Taylor was earlier. This will be our town clerk, Darlene Wisnitz, last meeting. We're going to miss her greatly. She's served here. She's going to retire at the end of the month and move closer to her family in Hendersonville. We wish her nothing but the best, and we love her dearly. And I just want to say that. And I want to welcome Angela Reese, who is here. That we have some overlap, so that she can learn the duties that Darlene has carried out so well for the last few years, and so Angela's here. She's a native of Haywood County. She has her master's degree from Western Carolina, and we're very fortunate to have her on board too. So I know that you all have met her, but I do want to let the public know that Angela will be here and that Darlene will also be greatly missed. Thank you, Darlene. And that's all that I have, Mr. Mayor.
Angela, you got some mighty big shoes to fill.
Amen to that.
There's no question. And again, Jack said it all. I mean, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was beautiful.
We did.
We're going to miss you. We're going to miss you. Any more business? Any other things? Anybody comments from the, excuse me, let's go right ahead, Carlos.
A couple of years ago, I had an opportunity to sit at this podium and cast a vote. And that vote was for the town square. And it was myself, Mayor Sobel, it was Alderman Sobel at the time, and Alderman John Brown. And I voted for that town square because I saw the potential in it that we had in this town for something really, really nice. And since we made that vote, since that happened, the town square has come to fruition. It is a showplace in this county. It is something that we are all to be very proud of. I know that everybody did not agree with the town square. but it is there. A lot of people put hard effort, time, money, dedication, known donors, anonymous donors, current and former town square, town staff who worked really, really hard for that square. Citizens, we need to move on. I've said this before, we need to move on. Whether you agreed with it, whether you disagree with it, it's time for us to move on and for us to be appreciative of what we have. I have talked with John DeWitt. I have talked with Dean Luby. I have talked with Don Collins. I am satisfied with where we are as far as monetary values go on the square, how it's being funded, how it's being pursued, how things are being paid for. Let's move on. Thank you.
Thank you. Very well said, Carlos.
Yeah, I would second Carlos's comments. I have no, Dean has handled everything very nicely, worked nicely with the Greenway group, and I'm very satisfied. So I certainly echo Carlos's comments.
Well, and because of Larry Harris's background in accounting, with him being on the Town Square Committee, I have all the faith in the world that what was done, what is continuing to be done, is according to Hoyle. Anybody else wish to make a comment?
Emails I have from Mr. Harris.
Anybody else have any other comments? If
Yes,
not,
go ahead. Yes, I would like, first of all, to say how inspired I am in this town by the volunteers. The volunteers in this town make our town the quality that it is. We would not have nearly what we have without the volunteers that we have. So thank you to all the people that applied for board appointings tonight. And if you applied and didn't get voted on, keep applying. It's very inspiring to me to be part of this operation, and the volunteers certainly are just one of the biggest assets I think this town has. Thank you, and I'm so inspired by these two young ladies here. That's where it all begins, and thank you for your volunteering.
and I'll just leave you, Amber, and I didn't catch your name. That something that my grandmother told me many, many years ago, that if you want to feel good about yourself, do something for somebody else and stick your hands in the dirt every day. So,
Mayor, if I can.
yes.
We heard these young ladies come in from the FFA. They're building a barn down there next to Owen High School, and it's been done all with volunteers. They've got a two-story, it's got a hayloft, and we've had contractors come down there and volunteer their time, but there's been a whole lot more that's been done at that barn that has been non-contractors, just people who are willing to grab a hammer and drive some nails. And that down there is an example of what this community is all about. And I just want to put a plug in for those guys. And if there's anybody that's got time to work on the Owen High School barn, the FFA barn, and I think we've seen by the community garden, well, they're learning stuff like that down there at the FFA also. They're learning about equine and goat and sheep management. They're learning about planting. We've got probably the best FFA teachers in North Carolina, in my book, that's teaching those guys about gardening, giving them life skills. And we're trying to do the same thing with the barn, to where that they can start having their small animals there and learning how to raise those. And so, just an invite, get in touch with Mr. Tim Pacehour, myself, or anybody on this board. We can point you in the right direction where to go.
There's no question Tim Pacehour is we are lucky to have him as the FFA director down there. And as everyone has spoken to here, I think it all falls under the umbrella of we're building a better sense of community. All of us are working together for that. Thank you for coming. Meeting adjourned.